Okay, let's check out the hybrid reverb. It's a new effect in Ableton Live Suite 11. First, let's make a quick sound with the wavetable, something percussive, plucky, synth pluck, just so we got something to test the reverb with. Let's close the filter. I also put some envelope on the filter. Okay, that's fine. Nice. Now, let's go load the hybrid reverb from the reverb and resonance category. And let's check this out. So the hybrid reverb is a combination of a convolution reverb and an algorithmic reverb. You can combine them in all sorts of ways, and you can also use them separately. So first, some general stuff about the reverb. First of all, right here we have the dry-wet, of course, the mix between the effect and no effect. Here's the default preset. Right here we have the send. This is an extra control to decide how much volume of the sound we're sending into the reverb. So if this is all the way down, there's no reverb. Let's go back up. I'm gonna decrease the release here a tiny bit so it's a really short sound. Excellent. Now, here we have the pre-delay. Just like any other reverb, it's gonna detach the sound from the initial echo, from the initial reverberation. Let's make it... We can really hear it completely separate, and we can also synchronize them, and this will essentially act as a delay. And we can even, right here, add some feedback into the pre-delay. So now it's literally functioning as a delay. Let me go and just make it really short. We'll come back to this. Let's listen. Let's make it shorter. Nice. I have my MIDI keyboard here, by the way. I'm just playing some notes so we can test it out. Okay, let's go back to our timed pre-delay right here. No feedback. Sweet. Let's reset it. I'm just going to double click on all the knobs here. And for right now, we'll keep it dry-wet at 50 and then we'll come back to it. We might change it as we test things out. So first of all, let's decide what we're using, the convolution reverb, the algorithmic, or a combination, thus the hybrid. First, let's talk about the convolution. So I'm going to switch it to only use the convolution reverb, completely ignoring the algorithmic section. And here, we can decide between different categories. Comes with a lot of great presets from very short reverbs like early reflections. You have a lot of different places here. You can also switch presets from the arrows. And all the way to long reverbs like whole reverbs, plates, springs. And you even have some special categories like textures, where here you even have things like vowels. And the reason is, it's a convolution reverb. It's based on samples. So you can literally just go and take any sample you have. That might be too long. Let's go like a drum hit even. Let's load like even this. Drag it here. And that is now functioning as the convolution reverb, as the IR, impulse response for the reverb. And you now have it under your user folder, and it will add all the samples in that folder that you just added a sample from. So you can create a lot of super cool filtering, or even function as a super cool filter delay. Amazing stuff. Sweet. So that's the convolution presets, but you have further control over it because it's a sample base. Here on the top right, it's going to tell us what's the overall time of the reverb, of the impulse response. We can change the attack, which will change the timing as well. It's going to make it longer. You can very easily create textures by bringing up the attack of the convolution. Let's go with a whole reverb. Here it is. We can make it even longer. Essentially adding attack to the amplitude of the impulse response. Here is the overall time. 20 seconds is the longest. You can make it shorter. So you have even more control over the reverb and the virtual size of the reverb itself. So a small space, even though it's a whole reverb, all the way to like extremely unrealistic, super big, like a silo tank or something. So there's endless things you can do here just with the convolution. mostly because you can load your own sounds, but just these 3 controls can give you so much variation. Let's bring it down. Okay, beautiful stuff. So that's the convolution section. Let's go to the algorithmic. The algorithmic reverb is purely digital, doesn't use any samples. And we have 5 different algorithms, all behaves differently, give us different styles of reverb. First of all, we have the dark hole, kind of a classic dark reverb, great for like medium to large size. This is the default one. All reverbs will have this decay and size. So the decay, the length of the tail, and the size of the virtual space. Nice. Each algorithm will have its own controls. So here in the dark hole, we have damping. As you bring it up, it's going to be darker. It's going to filter out the high frequencies more. Let's make it longer. And shorter, or lower damping is going to make the sound a bit brighter. Shape is going to change between, if you take it down, it's going to be more resonant and small space compared to a large and diffuse space. Here we have the bass multi, so as we take it up, we can hear more, the bass frequencies are going to decay longer, so it's going to be longer bass frequencies compared to taking it down, and then they're going to decay much faster. And here is the crossover frequency of where we're actually starting to damp those bass frequencies. We can change that. Mod is just essentially going to apply a modulation on the reverb itself, on the reverberation, the echoes, and it's somewhat kind of like a chorus effect. Let's make it really long so we can hear it. Okay, so it's adding this modulation effect on the reverb tail. Nice. Next one is Quartz. And Quartz, it's also a hall-like reverb, but it has audible echoes. Like you can actually make it into kind of this super cool delay. So let's reset the controls here. Decay and size are the same. Here we can really hear it starting to get detuned. Let me turn down the modulation. Nice, we can hear that. Right, the kind of the detune in unison. And diffusion, if we take this down, we can actually start hearing the delays. We're gonna less diffuse them together. And here's the apparent distance. So very close together. Or kind of this weird rhythm of like a multi-tap delay. You can kind of find a mix in between, which is amazing. Damping, as we said, bring it higher. It's going to be a bit darker sound. And let's diffuse it. You can hear the reverb and brighter sound. Nice, and we got the low damp and higher values will, it's the opposite, will result in a brighter sound. And lower values will bring back the bass decay. Amazing, so this is super cool because it's just a whole reverb, but you can kind of mix it in with a delay-like effect. So super cool. Next one is Shimmer Reverb, a kind of classic famous type of reverb where it's actually repitching the echoes. So it's somewhat like a grain delay mixed with reverb. So pitch shifting, here we have the decay and size again. And here we have the pitch. I'm gonna right now going up 12 semitones in octave and how much we're doing, like the feedback essentially. So let's listen. Let's bring it up. Now we can hear that pitch shifting. You can turn on the diffusion to turn it in more kind of like a grain delay. Let's see, we can even go down. So that's the Shimmer Reverb, kind of repitching the reverberation. Super cool. Next we have Tides. And Ableton describes this as a smooth reverb, but it does have a modulation on it, like a multi-band filter modulating the reverb, which can create some really cool effects. So let's listen. I'm gonna take the rate here of the modulation of the filter. So we can make it faster so we can hear it. Nice. We can change the wave. If we take down, it's a sine wave. And all the way up, it's a square wave. We can mix between them. Nice. Here we have the tide. This is kind of like the intensity of this filtering. And here we have the phase. And this will just adjust the offset between the modulation, waveform modulation. So at 180 or at 0, they essentially canceling each other. We only have one. Very similar to the auto pan. Nice. And damping, like we said, bring it up. It's going to be darker reverb. And lastly, we have the Prism, which is a very unique type of reverb based on velvet noise, which is spectrally flat. And it can kind of gives you this kind of noisy type of reverb, can go between multiple textures with the size and decay. And you don't have much controls here, but let's listen. So it could be anywhere from a texture to like kind of ghost reverb, as Ableton describe it. And that's the Prism. And you just have the kind of the crossover and frequency and how much you're boosting the decay, lengthening the decay or shortening of the low and high frequencies. Nice. You also saw these two controls are here all the time between all the algorithms. And first of all, we have the delay. It's an extra kind of pre-delay, but just for the algorithmic section, so you can separate that. So if I mix between them, we have this convolution first attached to the sound, according to this pre-delay. And then we have this algorithmic dark hole coming in according to this delay. So it's kind of a way to make kind of a very complex type of sound with two separate delays that also are playing at different times. And here we have the freeze. We can freeze the reverb. So if I play something, now it's just frozen. And if I play more notes, let's go back to just the algorithm. It's not going to do anything because it's frozen. But then I can load this freeze in button, which will add new notes into the frozen reverb. Very cool stuff. You can create very easy ambient and textures with that. Nice. Now, one last thing to talk about is the routing of both reverb engines. First, by default, we have serial. So that means that the convolution reverb go into the algorithmic reverb, and we can decide how much the convolution reverb goes directly to the output. So we can have only the convolution reverb or the algorithmic reverb, but it still goes through the convolution reverb. So in this serial mode, the convolution reverb will always be in the chain. We have the parallel. Here the blend does work. They're completely separate. And we can mix between the algorithmic and the convolution. And lastly, we can select each one independently and completely ignoring the other engine. Here on the right, we have the stereo. If you take it down, it's going to make the reverb tail mono. If you bring it up, it's going to enhance the stereo image. Here we have a built-in beat crusher. As much as you take it more and more, it's going to lower the beat rate and the sample rate of the reverb. Let's listen. Let's go extreme so we can really hear the beat crushing. And here you can make all the bass frequencies mono. It's essentially everything below 180 hertz. So you can, it's just a button here, very useful. And lastly, we have the EQ section. This will EQ the filter itself, which is just like the EQ8. We also have a button here for pre-algo, meaning that the EQ is going to be before the algorithmic reverb. So you're not going to affect the convolution sound if you want to keep it the same. Amazing. That is the hybrid reverb, extremely powerful reverb, such a great addition to Ableton's arsenal of effects in Ableton Suite 11. Check it out, and if you make anything cool with it, let us know in the comments. Catch you next time.